having me. My name is Spencer Blackhart. I appreciate the exit having me back this year. I'd like to especially thank Christina for dropping all charges, and I'd like to assure her that that incident will not occur for a third time. I always try to come to Eddy Street at least once a year, and some of my critics have expressed dismay at this. After all, as some of you may remember, I did campaign for mayor a few years ago on a campaign that included fencing off the Tenderloin, as well as the Mission District, Hunters Point, and other places where brown people live. Other places where poor people live. And when this failed, I did briefly attempt to have these areas legally declared as part of it. Nonetheless, I do very much value my time here because to me, Eddy Street is, in ways, the heart of what makes America great. I'm speaking, of course, of radical income inequality. Because it's really not that much fun to be rich if you don't have a poor person nearby to watch. So, it's always important to remember that rich isn't about how much money you have. It's about how much money you have compared to others. And so when it comes to generating wealth, it's very important to remember that increasing your own circumstances is all well and good, but subtracting from others is equally effective. So what does that mean for San Francisco? First of all, it means our neighbors must be destroyed. Now, fortunately, many of these take care of themselves. But like any good entrepreneur, we should try and make some money in the process. A healthy tariff for any goods coming underneath the Golden Gate Bridge is a nice start, but there are other resources to mine as well. For instance, when I ran for mayor, I did campaign on selling the animals in the San Francisco Zoo. I had a very good contact who promised me fantastic prices on the great cats. And it's not like it's hard to find a buyer for either. And while it's true that the people of San Francisco did not warm to my idea of sponsored gorilla fights, can we all agree that the animals in the Oakland Zoo are fair game? Really, the only city here that's going to pose us any problems is probably Palo Alto. And this is easily overcome because Palo Alto is built in an earthquake zone. It's all made out of wood. It will go up like that. There was money to be made here. Sure, it looks a little bit sketchy to take out an insurance policy on another city. But have you noticed that the affluent, respectable suspect is rarely the one to get convicted? All we need is a fall guy, and we have the perfect one. Oakland is the fall guy that con artists dream about. Similar size, similar background, but a little bit darker skin. Probably not able to afford as good of a lawyer. Problem solved. It's important to remember, your neighbors are your greatest enemies and your greatest resource. Now, liberals like our president refuse to acknowledge this. They try and sell us on these communist ideas to level the playing field. Like the atrocity that is of this childlike attempt for universal health care, which first of all infringes upon my right to look down on sick people, but more importantly is a clear violation of religious liberty. Because I truly believe that if you're sick enough to need health care, God clearly wants you to die, and the state has no right to interfere with this. Of course, there's no reasoning with a communist like Obama. They try and sell us on these horrible slogans. They say we're all in this together, that a rising tide raises all ships. They say this through their haze of pot smoke. Well, let me tell you something, hippie. I've done drugs you've never even heard of, and I worked as a ship smuggler, so let me reign as the resident expert on this subject. A rising tide may raise all ships, but it's only because we sunk some ships that that water level went up in the first place.